As Sinan and his most valuable troops cross to the other side, the bridge behind them catches fire. Engulfed in flames, many soldiers jump into the river.
Oh no! This is kind of roughly where I left off.
Despite his stunning victory at Calugareni,
very stunning,
the outnumbered Mihai retreats north, unable to stop Sinan Pasha's advance. The two capitals fall just 3 days after the battle. Wallachia, which had produced so much resistance under Mihai the Brave, looks destined to become an Ottoman province. Today's video is sponsored by NordVPN.
Wait. Oh, it's not like a long spawn. Okay, we'll take it.
During centuries of Ottoman domination, Wallachia continued its existence as a political entity through careful management of relations with Constantinople. Wallachian nobility usually avoided an overly aggressive stance towards the Ottoman Empire. In most cases, the voivodes accepted the suzerainty of the Sultan and sought good relations by paying tribute and bribing important officials. But Wallachian voivodes have equally shown that occupying their lands would be met with harsh resistance. And since the principality lacked valuable natural resources, like gold or silver, from the Ottoman perspective, it was more profitable to keep Wallachia as a tax farm than to engage in costly wars and occupation. And, if not overtaxed, as was the case in the years before Mihai's revolt, Wallachia was generally peaceful. And for the Wallachian nobility, the pro-Ottoman policies were a legitimate way to maintain their rule and keep the country free from total occupation, even if vassalized and forced to pay high tributes. But over the centuries, some Wallachian voivodes broke these norms and aggressively sought independence for their people.
Bro, it's weird because Wallachia is in a very interesting spot. It is sandwiched between freaking Transylvania, so controversial, and Moldavia, which they all have borders towards the outside world, basically. But Wallachia, I'm impressed Wallachia lasted as long as it did, frankly speaking. Like,
was one of them.
Frankly speaking, man.
The Wallachian revolt he led caused a significant disruption to Ottoman lines of communication along the Danube for their main theatre of war against the Holy League in Hungary. As a result, Constantinople moved to dismantle and annex Wallachia in order to fully secure the logistically vital Danube line. Unaffected by the tactical defeat at Calugareni, the Ottomans were able to replace their losses and start incorporating Wallachia into the empire. The initial military takeover is swift, as nearly all towns have neither castles nor stone walls.
And that's the issue with, you could have a skilled general in a war, but, dude, it's like, a lot of the times, man, if you want to win a war, it's just attrition. I have no other way of saying it. Attrition. You can have so much skills, man, but like when you're just overwhelming, it is what it is. Like, that's why I said it's shocking how Wallachia survived as long as it did.
By late August, Ottoman officials are already put in charge over large parts of the country. However, by September, Sinan's preparations for permanent occupation are not going well. The Akinji raiders are plundering and ravaging the country, leading to fierce local resistance and widespread instability. Wallachian rebels clash and defeat several groups of Akinji forces, most notable of which is the massacre of 5,000 raiders near Buzau.
Oh!
Despite these setbacks,
okay,
it's only a matter of time before the Ottomans have Wallachia firmly in their grip. Having retreated to the Bran Pass, Mihai knows that he needs a second victory to inflict enough losses on the Ottomans if he is to discourage further attacks on Vlahia and maybe seek a political compromise. But in the weeks following the Battle of Calugareni, many Vlahian peasants leave his army to defend their homes from Akinji attacks. This significantly weakens his ranks. In addition, the fall of Bucharest and Târgoviște is an indication to the nobility that Mihai had lost the war. Thus, many nobles east of the Alt River see no reason to follow him anymore, and they too withdraw their troops. However, he still enjoys significant support from the nobility in Oltenia, his power base. To make matters worse, despite being immensely wealthy, bankrolling so many mercenaries depleted his funds, and he finds it increasingly difficult to pay for their services. Some
that's the thing
to look for employment.
That's the thing, man. It's like, how is he even getting these funds is shocking to me, baffling to me, frankly speaking, man.
As finding well-paid employment in the region isn't that easy, because the market is flooded with cheap manpower after the destruction of the countryside and the abandonment of many towns, as well as the ending of the harvest season, left many looking for work.
That is crazy. Yo, that is mad to me. Work. This. Yo, when I imagine someone looking for work, man. Yo. Like, yeah, I would not imagine someone looking to go and fight. Literally going and unaliving other people. Oh my goodness. It just goes to show you how crazy times were back then. How normalized stuff were. Although, it's kind of like that in Russia too, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it's like the economic state of the country is so bad in some areas that unironically, I did hear about a lot of people, particularly in villages and whatnot, who do basically the same thing. They go and they sign up for to become a mercenary, and they get like 2,000 USD a month, literally becoming a mercenary. And that's the best that they've had, you know, literally. And that's their work. And I also heard that they get like bonuses if they're able to capture more territory, or if they get like a certain amount of, I know about the territory part, but I'm not sure about the like certain amount of kills that they have. But you know, that's their only work, and it's like, that's to them, that's like a lot to them, you know, 2,000 USD a month, you know, that's crazy, man.
Of all these factors, Mihai's army is down to 8,000 men, and the Transylvanian reinforcements can't come soon enough.
You know what's better than one?
However, while Vlahia is being pillaged, Sigismund decides to get married before marching south. By forcing Mihai to wait until his wedding is over,
What?
Sigismund perhaps wants to show who's in charge.
Nah,
By
disrespectful.
October, the Transylvanian voivode finally arrives with his army. Help also comes from Moldavia. Stephen Razafan, a highly competent military leader and voivode, who is very popular among his men, arrives with his contingent. The three voivodes waste no time. Their combined army numbers around 32,000 men and 100 cannons. It is agreed that Mihai devise a plan for a swift advance, aiming to attack Sinan's position before he can fully organize his army. At this
His
time,
name is Mihai,
Sinan
but
has
it's
up to
Michael.
40,000 combat troops at his disposal, while the rest are dispersed across Vlahia. Armies of the three voivodes advance on Târgoviște. With 40 cannons, the Ottoman garrison offers stiff resistance. Over the next 2 days, much of the town is engulfed in flames during an intense artillery battle. The Ottoman garrison finally retreats, fearing that their storage of gunpowder could explode. But most are eventually killed in the burning city or taken prisoner. All 40 cannons, as well as many supplies and weapons, are taken by the advancing army. Ottoman soldiers that managed to escape report back to Bucharest. Upon learning of the approaching army, Sinan decides to retreat south across the Danube and regroup. Not wanting to leave anything for the advancing enemy, the Ottomans sack and burn Bucharest and blow up the wooden fortifications. He reasons that it would be risky to go against an army of that size, which includes a very strong contingent of heavy cavalry, professional infantry, armed with arquebuses and pistols, and nearly 150 artillery pieces.
He is smart.
The retreating column is hastily organized. Sinan places himself in the front, along with his advisors, high-ranking officers, and the most valuable troops. The center of the column is rather mixed, while the Akinjis, who are usually fast and agile-moving, form the rear due to being weighed down by plunder and slowed by thousands of slaves that they captured over the past several weeks of raiding. In order to catch the fleeing...
That's crazy, bro. You have so much slaves that freaking bro, at this point just let them go. Like just let them go. It's funny how I don't hear about Balkan people, crying about slavery from the Ottoman Empire. Oh my goodness, and they do not like Turkish people, that I know. I know. What's the one thing that can make everyone in the Balkans unite? A Turkish threat. And then after the Turkish threat is gone, they're gonna go and kill each other.
Being Ottomans, the three Romanian voivodes pass by Bucharest, sending only a small Moldavian contingent to enter the city and continue marching on the road to Calugareni and Giurgiu. The two armies finally sight each other. While the Ottomans are crossing the pontoon bridge over the Danube, the three Romanian voivodes appear to the north of Giurgiu. Even before the rest of the column has arrived, the quick-thinking Mihai is the first to attack. Seeing the Ottomans are focused on crossing the river and haven't formed a consistent battle formation, he seizes the initiative and personally leads the charge, urging his men forward. He doesn't want to give the enemy any time to fully form their battle line. The Ottomans amass their plunder and carts to form a barricade in order to slow down the Wallachian charge. Mihai's contingent goes around and over the obstacles and clashes with the Ottoman centre and right flank. Sinan's troops on the bridge have no room to maneuver their way back into the battle and can only keep moving forwards across the river. Meanwhile, Transylvanian arquebus infantrymen form up in front of the Ottoman left and begin firing at will.
Nah, bro, that is brutal. That is brutal.
Immediately cut down in a hail of bullets. In the center, the Ottoman barricades locked Mihai in a bitter fight against the Akinji cavalry. Nevertheless, the Wallachians slowly pushed
Wilhelm scream
towards the river. Further back, Transylvanian and Wallachian cannons are brought into position, and they open fire on the retreating army. As Sinan and his most valuable troops cross to the other side, the bridge behind them catches fire. Engulfed in flames, many soldiers jump into the river.
Oh no!
Minutes later, the damaged bridge collapses, taking with it the unfortunate soldiers, horses, and pack animals. Most of them drown. Jesus! Across the river, the Akinjis and many others are now cut off, unwilling to let go of the plunder and slaves they had captured, which are slowing them down. In the chaos, some of the horsemen are still trying to retreat across the river, unaware that the bridge had collapsed. By now, they are heavily outnumbered and quickly start suffering massive casualties. After hours of fighting, the Ottomans lost about 3,000 men, while another several thousand were wounded. 6,000 slaves are freed, 150 camels, as well as
6,000 slaves. That is insane, man. 6,000 slaves, bro. It's so wild to me how, like, freaking in the freaking Caribbean, bro. Like, I think this is much more brutal. in my personal opinion, like, I think like this, like being a slave for the Ottomans, bro, like this would be way more brutal. I mean, they were both probably equally brutal, let's be real, but like, because it's, I don't know, I don't want to talk too much about that here though.
Supplies, weapons, and artillery are left behind. Mihai got his victory.
He did.
Giurgiu marked the end of the Ottoman ambition to transform Vlachia into an Ottoman province. Moreover, the battle impacted the fate of the Akinjis as a military institution. The famous horsemen, who had the mission to plunder and weaken enemy territories, were already in decline by the late 16th century. But after the Battle of Giurgiu, their operations became minimal, as the style of warfare across Europe began to change.
Wow.
But it's important to note that just as the Akinjis raided Christian lands during peacetime, so too did Christian forces raid Ottoman lands.
Yeah.
These raids did not break peace agreements and were practiced by both sides almost every year. This is why the populace that lived in affected areas hated these raiders. And on the battlefield at Giurgiu, most of the Vlachian, Moldovan, and Transylvanian troops were born and raised in areas that were ravaged by the Akinjis.
Oh, yeah.
Needless to say, they hated them, and therefore massacred them all,
Yeah.
renouncing any ransom. Finally, after hours of fighting, the bridge was cleared, and some of the Ottoman troops retreated to the castle of Giurgiu, which was attacked on October 19th, with 12 cannons of the Toscan artillerymen that were brought closer to the shore.
Who are these ships?
Ottoman ships tried to intervene to stop the bombardment, but were prevented by the Vlachian and Transylvanian artillery. 2 ships were eventually sunk. The Ottoman garrison in the castle made a brave last stand, staving off several assaults while under heavy bombardment. But after hours of fighting, their numbers dwindled.
Wow.
The castle eventually fell 1 day later.
We want it.
After the battle, Sinan began planning a general invasion of Vlachia to massacre and displace the population as punishment for their resistance. From a military standpoint, this
He's not giving up.
was a reasonable and effective measure, which was successfully implemented in other problematic regions as well. Sinan never got the chance to execute his plans. His retreat from Vlachia was regarded as shameful. The man who had masterminded so many victories in Hungary against the Holy League was stripped of his position as Grand Vizier. Across the Danube, Sigismund
How are you doing so well against the Holy League, but you're struggling against, bro? This is nah, bro. Look, I know Mihai is just built different, I know, but still, like, come on, this should be like, as what they call in layman's terms, fodder. Okay, this is literally fodder, man. Like, these people are like less than the Holy League, and you're still struggling against them, man. What the heck?
his duty of providing support to Mihai and retreated to Transylvania to avoid keeping his army in the field when the snow falls, as mercenaries and vassals demanded more payment during the winter. Razvan returned to Moldavia. But during his absence, Polish noblemen brought the pro-Ottoman pretender Jeremiah Avila to the throne. Razvan fought to regain the throne, but was defeated. With Jeremiah recognized by the Sultan, Mihai became threatened by a potential Moldavian military intervention.
Oh, wow.
Conflict seemed inevitable, and the war with the Ottomans also continued.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Vlachia was mostly in ruins. Many peasants fled, leaving some areas depopulated. Towns suffered massive damage. This made the collection of taxes very difficult, which further worsened Mihai's financial situation. In order to start rebuilding the economy, the fortress of Brela was attacked and conquered. As one of the most important ports on the Danube, Brela immediately alleviated some of Mihai's financial problems, thanks to the highly valuable commercial taxation. In addition, by controlling Brela, Mihai gained a strategically important position against Moldavia. He could attack and then retreat to the fortress, while Moldavia had no fortresses in the south of the country. All of them were dismantled on the orders of the Sultan. Ottomans responded by sending Tatar raiders into Vlahia to attack Târgoviște.
It's crazy, bro. Tartar raiders are this deep. Wow.
The Tartars only had a narrow corridor to go through, but their movement was easy to predict. Mihai intercepted and destroyed their army. Meanwhile, another operation was launched in the west to take the fortress of Vidin, while Mihai marched south to conquer the fortress of Nicopolis. During spring, Mihai
never forget the Crusade of Nicopolis.
Had to dismiss many of his mercenaries, as he couldn't pay them due to a lack of taxes and insufficient plunder, and he began relying on Serbian and Bulgarian haiduks to bolster his ranks. Operations across all of northern Bulgaria continued throughout the summer of 1596, causing massive economic damage. Another Tatar army was ordered to pass through Vlahia and join the Ottoman army in Hungary. The Tartars sacked Buzău, Gherghita and Bucharest, but were defeated and chased over the Danube into Dobruja.
Why are they passing through Wallachia? Why are you not going somewhere else? Someone answer that for me if you can.
Mehmed II dealt a massive defeat to a combined Austrian and Transylvanian army in the Battle of Mezőkeresztes.
Wait a minute. Who are Transylvanian people? Who are Transylvanian people? I thought Transylvanians were the Hungarians. Who are Transylvanian people now that I think about it? Were they like their own distinct people or not?
Two more Transylvanian attacks were repelled on the fortress of Lipova and Timișoara, which were key for controlling the Banat region. Shaken by these defeats, Austria and Transylvania looked to negotiate a truce. The break in hostilities opened up a possibility for a major Ottoman invasion of Vlahia, and Mihai scrambled to get more troops to prepare for a possible attack. To raise funds for new troops, Mihai introduced dreadfully harsh measures. He essentially enslaved his own population by forbidding all classes of serfs from leaving the estates on which they worked. This gave the boyars immense power over the serfs that worked their land, and they imposed taxes higher than ever on the peasants in order to make the high payments to the voivode. These measures may have been a pragmatic way to defend Vlahia, but they squeezed the life out of the country's poorest people. And although Mihai's reputation was high because of his spectacular victories against the Ottomans, these measures diminished his popularity among his people. And in addition to heavily taxing his people, the voivode sent a delegation to Rudolf II, asking him to pay for 4,000 mercenaries from imperial coffers to help fight the Ottomans. The emperor agreed, seeing this as an opportunity to take away some of the pressure from Austria and shift the fighting into Vlahia and northern Bulgaria. Another hope was that Mihai would be able to push back the Ottomans and motivate Bulgarians, Serbians and Albanians to revolt. Mihai now
I'm hoping for that too.
Around 13,000 fighting men, and he resumed his attacks all along the Danube. The devastation of the countryside, roads and infrastructure was so severe that the bigger towns and cities in northern Bulgaria became completely isolated and cut off from the rest of the empire. Furthermore, he transported some 16,000 Christian Bulgarian peasants into Vlahia, whom he provided with land, aiming to increase his tax base. But in his rear,
genius! That is so smart.
Voivode Jeremiah and his nobles were planning to overthrow and replace him with a pretender by the name of Simon, Jeremiah's younger brother.
Oh,
to make matters worse, Sigismund abdicated the Transylvanian throne due to many internal and external problems. Mihai made another proposition to Rudolf II, the unification of Transylvania and Vlahia under Mihai's rule, in order to continue the war against the Ottomans with the help of Transylvania's resources. Rudolf refused and began planning to seize Transylvania for himself.
Ooh.
Surrounded on all sides, Mihai was forced to seek peace with the Ottomans. He took advantage of his successes on the battlefield and the mass destruction he caused in Bulgaria to gain favorable terms. He kept the fortresses on the Danube and was recognized by the Sultan as the ruler of Lahia. The Vlachian voivode was now free to deal with his Christian enemies in order to secure his country. Speaking of security, in today's times, our online
looking forward to see that. Yo, man, you made it all the way here. Subscribe. Come on, subscribe. Go check out my other reactions on my channel if you like what I have to say, if you like my reactions, man. Because it's not dry, let's be real. My reactions aren't really dry unless I'm like learning. I'm really learning about something. I'm really trying to pay attention. Make sure to like the video so that my videos stay on the YouTube algorithm. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.